submission and humility, that they're like peanut butter and jelly as it relates to Christianity. And so you're talking about athletes coming into the game. I don't want to submit and I don't want to be humble. And that's what's promoted in hip hop, rebellion and arrogance. And it's a bad mix. When you have football, which is again, the old school coaches from Tom Landry all the way to Tony Dungy, they used to lead with their faith and they would build their leadership model based off a biblical worldview. And so they believe in submission. I go back, I ruined the first 2 years of my college football career and really my overall college football career because I was total rebellion. I I didn't locker room lawyer and just had the wrong mentality. And so it's still true. The game has not changed where arrogance and a lack of submission leads to success. And anybody that demands or suggests, hey man, these black quarterbacks should lean into humility and submission, they'll have more success in the NFL. It almost sounds like I've told them, yeah, you need to bend over and be gay. And no, I'm like, no, man, that's not. I'm telling you to do what actually works: submission and humility.
I think the word submission sounds weak. Not that it is weak, but it's hard to tell a man to be submissive. Like he's not going to receive that. And sometimes it's not content is presentation. I'd rather say adapt. I'd rather say be nuanced enough to see what works from a longevity standpoint and what doesn't, and play the game. Like that's why I feel like a lot of young quarterbacks that look like me, because they haven't been, raised with fathers, they haven't seen it from the masculine side, from a teaching standpoint, on a consistent basis by somebody who truly loves them. Not just trying to use their ability and their talent to elevate themselves as well as the kid, but somebody that truly loves them like a dad, is willing to give them hard lessons and explain to them playing the game is not necessarily being submissive. It's adapting. It's understanding there's an end goal that I want to get to so that I can take care of not just my family, but generations of families. Because the money's that big in the National Football League. Like Whitlock, if somebody came to you as a sophomore in college, you got to be out of high school 3 years going to the draft, and said, listen, if you just play the process the right way, in 6 years, you'll have a contract that's over $200 million. Like, to me, that's a business plan. And I would be willing to sacrifice and submit, as you said, to anything to get to that landing mark, because I know now the power it gives me to then be able to be rebellious and do it my own way. So that would be my messaging.
So, do you think in any way perhaps we've overvalued rebellion? It's like, why is being rebellious a goal?
I don't think it's a good thing, especially not in a team sport.
Maybe not even in life.
I think it's sometimes you have to rebel against those things that wish you not to succeed. Those things that maybe don't believe in what you're passionate about. Like there are times when, for your own self-preservation, you have to say, I've had people tell me during my process, before I got in the National Football League, you're not going to be an NFL quarterback. I had to rebel against that energy. I had people tell me, you're going to NFL. Why are you going to graduate? I had to rebel against the energy. I want to graduate while I'm here, so I've got, so there are certain times where rebellion's good. Where it's not good is when it's detrimental to you elevating in whatever you're trying to accomplish.
I think we have demonized the word submission.
We have.
And it's not a dirty word in the Bible, and so it shouldn't be a dirty word among believers in the Bible. And I hear a lot of people claiming Christianity but want nothing to do with submission. And so I just don't even understand how the word submission can be and particularly for a man. And particularly for a man like yourself, like your father, in a marriage. Like, because I've talked to enough ministers to know how tough it is to talk about submission in the church, particularly in a marriage. The women reject it, and men, masculine men, have joined the military, and they know that, man, I'm gonna have to do a lot of submission here to authority. And again, I have you. Do you know who Philip Anthony Mitchell is? Did you see
Mm-hmm.
the part where did you see the part where I played the Philip Anthony Mitchell clip?
No, I didn't,
That got,
didn't see that.
let's replay the Philip Anthony Mitchell. He did this in April. He gave a sermon in April about submission, biblical submission to authority. And this is at a predominantly black church. He's in Atlanta. No one's going to call Philip Anthony Mitchell a sellout. But he had to apologize almost instantly for this sermon because black Christians, they just don't believe in submission. But let's play the highlight of the clip.
Stop blaming white cops for the killing of black kids. Instead, teach your black children to be obedient towards authority. And I don't care if most of y'all are black. You need to teach your children to obey authority. We need to teach our sons and daughters to obey authority. We need to teach our children to not fight against authority, not fight against cops, not rebel. Be model citizens. Stop being rebellious towards authority. Be submitted to laws and ordinances. Watch. The Lord said, give back to Caesar what belongs to him. That is, be submitted to governmental authority. You know why you're looking at me like that? Because you don't read. And an Italian cop drove right by me, and I locked eyes with the cop, and we stared at each other, and he drove by. And in that moment, I hear the voice of my mom and my father. Son, obey authority. In that moment, with that Glock pressed to my head, I got to make a decision. Either my ego is going to be strong, God, or my submission to authority is going to be stronger than my ego.
I think he breaks it down. It's an ego issue. And he had to apologize. The black church movement objected so loudly that he issued an apology, and that sermon's been scrubbed from their website and page. That's why we had to show you a grainy version of it, is because, they had to flee it. This is the problem with black culture. We completely reject submission.
I understand the premise. I don't like the analogy he used. That analogy assumes that there is not any corruption in law enforcement. Like there aren't any morally bankrupt people that work for law enforcement. Like there are times when it's not about rebelling or being submissive. It's like you got to be a man. But overall, I have a lot of friends in law enforcement. I'm an advocate for law enforcement, but I would be remiss if I sat up here and acted like there is not a cancerous percentage of actual employees in law enforcement that make it bad for the rest of the group.
Do you play chess, Shaun?
Rarely. I'm more of a poker and dominoes player.
Okay, I like to play
but
chess.
I do know how to play chess.
Yeah, I like, and so I just don't understand, as chess players, as just in life can be analogized to chess. I'm trying to figure out what chess move, in terms of standing out in the street, pulled over on the side of the road, when is arguing with the police, when is that a winning move? Well, it's like bringing your queen out on the second move in a chess game. Your winning percentage is so low that you just don't do it.
And I'm not saying be confrontational, because you never win that battle. Right, wrong, and indifferent. Like that's a losing battle. You're gonna end up down in the jailhouse. It's not gonna go your way. But there are other methods to try and bring light where there's darkness.
Yeah, you submit, and then you hire a lawyer and argue with them.
Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm not talking about being confrontational. You're going to lose that battle. Listen, if you're watching this and the popo pull you over, man, listen, however it's going to go, let the popo dictate how it's going to go. And then you find your recourse on the back end.
Oh, let me translate what Shaun just said. You get pulled over, submit to authority, and if you want to fuss and fight, do it after your submission to authority.
Right, but submit to authority means that that's a blank check that I'm writing. Play the game means that, okay, in this particular moment, I'm in a lose-lose. So I'm intelligent enough, I'm mature enough, I'm seasoned enough to play the game the right way so that I get the desired result at the end. To me, that's different than just blindly submitting that he's going to handle me any kind of way and I'm never going to call down to the branch and file a
I didn't say
report.
that.
Like, we got to be clear on when you say submissive. That seems like a period at the end of the statement when, the pastor was saying it, and the way you presented it. And maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, but I think there needs to be some nuance to the process. So as we get back to black quarterbacks, it's not about submitting to the white owner. It's not about submitting to the National Football League. It's about understanding how to work the process and play the game so you get the desired result. The initial result in life is financial freedom. Like, people can say whatever they want. In America right now, 2025, to be truly free, you need money. Now, you don't have to be private jet rich or guard gated community rich, but to exist and be free, where you can go and make your own choices and the outcomes you can live with, succeed or fail, you need some semblance of, financial stability. To get to that component, play the game, understand the process. And what I really tell you, look at what quarterbacks are in the Hall of Fame and emulate those guys. Don't emulate a guy that can make a song that people love and then come back 10 years from now and make another song people love and be good forever. Like, if you're playing the game of football, go do some research. Go look at all the quarterbacks in the National Football League Hall of Fame. How were they wired? How did they present themselves? How did they handle themselves? Like, because ultimately, if you're in that league, I would hope that's your goal as a player, right? To have a gold jacket Hall of Fame career. So we addressed the problem. Hopefully I gave a solution on who to emulate and why.
And so I don't think you got to look at the whole Hall of Fame list. I would just suggest, if I were playing quarterback, I would study Tom Brady. And I'd say, let me try to do whatever Tom Brady did. And you know what Tom Brady did? He submitted to Bill Belichick for years and years and years. And after winning 6 Super Bowls, he wanted to be free. And Belichick wanted to give him his freedom. And Tom Brady took his act to Tampa and won a 7th Super Bowl. But we're not, like, Tom Brady is free to do that without repercussions. I could bring Tom Brady on this show and say, hey, you submitted to Bill Belichick. And he'd say, yes, I did. If you say that to a black quarterback, there's all this extra baggage that comes along with submission. And and we have to remove that baggage. We need, the Bible preaches submission, and we need to make it easier for people to submit rather than to make it more difficult because, for a black person, it's harder to submit.
We live in a world now. We live in a world now, Jay, where you gotta explain why. As a coach, as a single man looking for a wife, as a married man, like, you walk up to a woman and say, "I'm looking for a submissive woman," and you don't expound upon that, you probably gonna get that door shut 8 out of 10 times. If you go to a athlete and you just tell him, "Do it because I said do it," you probably gonna get that door shut 8 or 10 times. To your Tom analogy, I think that's what I'm saying. Tom didn't submit as much as he played the game. He thought he was better than Drew Bledsoe. He went to Coach Belichick and asked, why I'm not getting more reps. And Belichick told him, listen, this is how this works. Just make the most of the reps that you get. And he talked about this, how he knew he had 2 reps that day. And, man, look, he was out preparing for them 2 reps like it was an entire game. He played the process. And he got his shot through happenstance. Like, people forget this. If Drew Bledsoe just runs out of bounds in the game against the Jets, instead of trying to gain that extra yard and get knocked out by, I forget which linebacker from the Jets it was. But maybe Brady doesn't play that year.
Yeah.
So to my young quarterbacks coming into this league, Whitlock says be submissive. I say learn how to play the game. because the game is bigger than your individuality. Trust me.
It was Mo Lewis that knocked out
Mo
Drew
Lewis.
Bledsoe.
Right. If Bledsoe just run out of bounds, Brady might not even play that year.
I just don't understand. Where do you, if your father was listening to us right now, where would he land on like Jason saying submit and Shaun is like has a problem with that word? Your
Because
father would agree with me.
I'm slightly younger than you,
Yeah.
and you're slightly, well, you're not. You're younger than what my dad would be if he was still alive. So I am more connected to the reality of who this young generation is and how they're wired and how they receive information. And ultimately, as the mature male in the room, it's the outcome that I desire. If I've got to tweak my presentation so that it's more impactful, so that it resonates more, so that there's an actual seed that's planted that can get watered and help this young person reach their ultimate goal, then I'm willing to adapt the way I present it. Because I'm just telling you, like, these young people are not going to accept submit. And you're right in what you're saying. I'm not questioning what you're saying. I'm saying the presentation is not going to be received. It's just not. It's not the world we live in. Right, wrong, indifferent. The reality of 2025 in America is if you go up to somebody and tell them you got to submit, most Americans are going to rebel against that just because of the word.
And so should we not also, if we buy your line of thinking, should we not also accept we're going to get substandard results? We're not going to get the same results as the people who are willing to submit, who are willing to admit that they're willing to submit, rather than the people you got to spend 3 months, 3 years, 3 hours explaining what the Bible explains to you and should be just taking it as fact.
If we keep it in the context of football, we're already seeing the manifestation of this new generation. Quarterback is awful right now in the league. It's awful.
Yes.
And
Yes.
a lot of it has to do with the fact that these quarterbacks are being coddled because they're viewed as a transportation apparatus to my success, which I don't want to get kicked off the bus. So I'm not going to tell the bus driver you're driving too fast. So you know what? We need to change the oil or you know, we need to make some remodeling so that when the bus gets to its destination, it's what people are looking for. These quarterbacks, man, they're not being coached. They're not. Nobody's telling them that, you know what, you got to get better in this area. You're not good enough in this area. And yeah, they're still making more and more money in the NIL. Look at the NIL market in college right now. The entirety of the quarterback market, Jason, is failed quarterbacks from this past season. They're about to go somewhere else because of what they were rated coming out of high school or because of 10 plays out of 250 that they had last year where they looked like they might have some ability. Because they've never, and now that we're not talking about the big picture, we're talking about the micro, they've never submitted to true coaching.
You're making
and
my
I'm talking
point.
about the development of a quarterback, you have to. But that's an individual situational thing. And I would go down the list still of explaining why you have to submit at this position. I have to create muscle memory so that when we get in the game, when chaos erupts, you're able to stay calm.